Hello everyone and welcome back to another Getting Stuff Painted, my bi-weekly update, give or take, on the miniatures I've been painting for the games we cover here on the channel. And we haven't got as many to talk about this time, but a lot of them are on the larger size, by miniature standards anyway. So I figured we've got enough here to talk about without too much blathering. So from left to right we have quite a big chunk of Elder Scrolls Call to Arms, with a little bit of Fallout Wasteland Warfare scenery thrown in, just because I finally decided to tackle it. Then we have some Kill Team, we have Marvel Crisis Protocol, and on the end we have some Battletech. I really should change the order I do these in because I'm not going to have much to say about the mechs, and they're in the list last. But it's mostly in the order I painted them, it's like between this and the last video, so never mind. Anyway, there is a lot to talk about. I've got some complaints about certain miniatures, and as usual, mostly done with contrast. Not entirely, but mostly. Let's start with just getting the scenery out of the way. Ages ago, and in many of the videos in the Fallout Wasteland Warfare series, you will have seen a Fallout themed barricade that I painted who knows how long ago at this point. It was a set of two, big chunky bit of resin, Modiphius resin though, and it's always a pain when there's a lot of big flat surfaces, which there's a lot of on this. Scrubbing it in hot water, hot soapy water, doing the base coat with spray paint helps alleviate the issues that Modiphius' resin has, but it does not remove them, and flat surfaces are still a pain. In fact, if you just turn here, like, you can see a little bit of the base coat down there, you can see quite a big chunk underneath that. That's just where the paint would not stick, no matter how persistent I was with it. Thankfully it's not parts you would particularly see even if you're looking at it from above or anything like that, and it's not really that important. You can kind of hide it with wash afterwards as long as enough of it pulls together. Still very frustrating, so that's why I put off doing this one, because of the frustration I had with doing the first one however long ago. In terms of colours, Snake White Leather is my go-to colour for Wasteland Floor. Then we have, ooh, which red is that? I think that's Blood Angel's red. That is a Black Templar. That's just the base coat, which was Grey Seer with Agrat Surshade smeared over it, which is, everything's been smeared in Agrat Surshade. Lead Belcher Silver, Briar Queen Chill, and Basilicanum Grey for the cinder blocks. Oh, and a little bit of Agros Dunes for the files that are poking out of the file effects thing here. And that's it. So I'm glad I got it done finally. It means when we do eventually return to Fallout, I've got two themed barricades now rather than just the one, which is nice. Although if you remember or have seen the other one, it's just large enough that like human-sized models can't see over it. And super mutant models is kind of questionable. This one is the same, unless you're on this end of it. Super mutants would see over this end, humans wouldn't see over any of it. So a bit of a weird choice for them with the size they went with, but at least it's thematically apt for the the Fallout universe. Let's stick with Modiphius resin, because I did say I had complaints, more so with the Spriggans over here. But this is a giant Frostbite Spider. I had the Frostbite Spider pack ages ago. This has been in a battle report now. I've had it sitting for so long, and the reason I didn't tackle it is, one, it doesn't come with assembly instructions, so I had to guess which leg goes where, and I got it wrong, which is why you will see recesses in the base for where feet were supposed to go, but there was no humanly way possible for me to do that with how I assembled the feet, which means I mixed some of them up. There's absolutely no way to tell which goes where. There's no assembly instructions available online, and there might be a YouTube guide I suppose at this point. But there is no guide provided with the miniature, and nor is it simple enough that you can just guess. I see my dog's hair. You're going to see a lot of dog's hairs. She's shed her winter coat, but no matter how much I do the vacuuming, there's just more hair to find. Anyway, I painted this in the exact same way as I did paint those Frostbite Spiders, but it was so long ago that I'll just quickly go over it again. Wildwood is the main colour here to use for the body, Talisar Blue for the head, Gryph-hound Orange for the pincers, with a little bit of just a bog standard orange paint from Citadel to highlight the edges and the top of the head, just to try and match the coloration that I did before. The base is mostly Basilicanum Grey with a little bit of Biotan wash while it was damp, just to create that kind of Skyrim stereotypical floor look. That's just the base coat for the cocoon at the bottom there, with Nono over the top, with a little bit of Iron Jaws yellow to try and create, like in the official paint job, this lamp is extinguished completely. Just for fun, I wanted to do another light experiment, so I made it that maybe like he's just been captured, so the lamp isn't quite out yet, but it's growing dimmer, so it's just casting a little bit of light on a couple of the legs, the cocoon, the floor around there. I think it created a nice enough effect, and a little bit of the Nurgling slime, whatever it's called, from Citadel for the poison coming from there. He's spitting poison at both ends, which is very apt. Oh, and in his mouth as well, which you can't really see, but hey. So again, using the wash it thoroughly spray paint the base coat, it's not as bad, but there is still additional problems with Modiphius despite the thing happening. So let's talk about that after I appease my dog who just moaned to throw a toy for her. Alright, let's talk about these together. This is the Spriggan Matriarch for Cult Arms, the Skyrim miniature game, which I've recently returned to because I've been playing a lot of Skyrim and Elder Scrolls Online. And then these are just some bog standard Spriggans. They're 2 separate boxes. You buy this one separate, you buy these 3 together. And I've struggled with these. The thing, the Modiphius resin thing, despite them being from the year 2021, both of them, is still persistent. And because they're so little and brittle, no matter how much paint I slopped on, you'll be seeing, probably even on the camera, white dots everywhere where the paint just hasn't, like on her shoulder blade, in between the shoulder blade and the arm there on the Matriarch. It's just, it's not a complete coating, and I normally that would bug me more. The only reason it's not bugging me as much for these is because the white specks of like undercoat, or not even undercoat, just the resin, you'll probably see them better if they're picked up by the studio light here. It kind of makes it look like they've got a little dusting of snow, which kind of fits the theme. So that's the only reason I'm not more annoyed about it than I would be. What still annoyed me though is these are especially brittle. The Modiphius resin, I don't know what happened. Maybe it's because I've been keeping them in cold temperatures over winter to give them the benefit of the doubt, that maybe it's something I did with the storage. But these were so brittle. Also very, very annoying to assemble because, much like Knight models, they're not smooth holes that you like push your limbs into or anything like that. There's no instructions either. But trying to work out how a hand is to go in is a case of looking at the box and trying to match it up. So case in point, the Matriarch, if you look at the official art, she's pointing that hand more forwards, like directly forwards. I angled it because I thought it looked better to angle it down slightly, especially because she's standing on a rock and in general she's taller than a human. So I thought that was better, but that's also not how you're supposed to do it. But I could not match it up to look good in the joint there any other way. So what was I supposed to do? When I was assembling her, when I pulled her out of the box, one of her fingers had snapped off on that big hand, so luckily I was able to get it glued back on, and it's strong enough, I guess. I wouldn't want to like wiggle the fingers to try and figure out which one it was because it will snap again. And part of her back was broken and just like snapped as well. Repairable, but shoddy, unfortunately. There's no other word for it. In general, I'll talk about the Spriggans as well, but I did the same for them. I went with Rattling Grime as a base coat on top of the Grey Seer. I then did a dry brushing of a new paint that I haven't tried before. It's a Citadel dry range, and it's called Sylvaneth Bark. And I think it actually gels very well as a top dry brushing on top of Rattling Grime. It's just a slightly warmer, muddy brown, and I think it creates quite a nice like flow to that, and it's a nice way to build up from a Rattling Grime base. In terms of colours, this is Gryph-hound Orange and Magmadroth Flame for the Matriarch. Obviously I used greens for the little Spriggans, which we'll go on to talk about now. The base is just Citadel's Snow Effect paint, some flowers from Army Painter, and Hulk Green, Mantis Warrior Green for the grass, and that's it. So, these little so-and-sos are even more brittle. You can tell by looking at them. Look how spindly they are. One of these came out the box with a snapped leg, so I had to repair that. One of them had a snapped hand, and all 3 of them, none of them had joints which fit their arms in snugly. So I had to use green stuff to pad in gaps and just also make them more secure, and that's literally for all 3 of them. This is, like, the Matriarch, fine, it was damaged, possibly because of being stored in cold temperatures. These, though, I just found unacceptably poor, unfortunately. Thankfully, they still came together quite nice. Is that another dog here? It is. Good grief. They still came together quite nice, but it was a massive frustration. If I didn't have green stuff, these hands would have probably fallen off by now, just from holding it and moving it around a little bit. It wasn't great. one of the worst sets I've seen from him in a while, and it is a newer-ish one. Like 2021 is not that long ago. Well, maybe it is at this point, but in terms of like Call to Arms stuff, they haven't been releasing that much. We're still waiting on the card pack chapter 4 or whatever, so most of their newer releases are still not usable. Very confusing, although I think that might be Bethesda's fault in that instance. But either way, for the greens on these, I used a mixture of Striking Scorpion green and Mantis Warrior green. The latter first, confusingly, with the way I decided to say that. But yeah, very, very frustrating. And I go through phases of painting up Modiphius resin because they are so frustrating at times. And assembling those, like painting the little guys wasn't so bad. The Matriarch, it's more, you can see the white dots where the paint hasn't fully stuck everywhere. For these little ones, it's not as bad. Oh, you might notice she is slightly, like, she's not central and she's kind of bent backwards. This is the one that had the snapped leg, and the only way I could make it look like the leg was still connected because it was broken at the, like at the bottom of the, at the top of the ankle. It's to do it that way. So she's at a very, very strange angle, but it was the only way to make it look like her leg was actually still attached. Sucks. It's just sometimes you get bad resin models. That's why plastic is superior, but I know it's more expensive, and it hopefully obviously has other downsides as well. But yeah, that put me off doing more Modiphius resin for a little while. I'm going to try and force myself to, but that really did put me off. Well, let's move on to something nicer, by which I mean much, much more disgusting. The last two of the Plague Hulks, I think they're called, from the Gellerpox infected kill team. I don't remember what this one's called. Bloated Blight Fly something. This one is called Volgrar Thrice Cursed. I only know that because I looked up the name so I could tweet out a picture on Blue Sky of them. So these are the last two big guys of the Gellerpox infected done. I'll give you a closer look at both of them before I blather. So that is technically the kill team done. Oh, please be in focus. Hopefully. Hard to tell. There we are. That is technically then playable now unless you take one of their upgrades, which means you need some extra models because it represents one of the infections they bring in the form of like a type of bug. And this is hot off the press. I finished this one this morning. So, subject to change, that might change some things about him, but got him done. And he is pretty cool. He's got a stack oven in his stomach, and that's the pipes for it there. I joke that he makes the bread for the team. He provides the food. So I've actually got the little unpainted bugs here. There's like 4 different kinds, and there's 3 of each. I have no idea what the the quote-unquote correct choice is, but there's a bunch of those little guys. Technically, if you take that one particular stratagem or whatever upgrade it is for them, but if you didn't take them, technically they're done.
Could you try again?
Siri, I was not talking to you. Good grief. But our watches don't. He said okay. Okay, that's fine. So technically they're ready as long as you don't take that upgrade. So you'll notice that both of their skins are very pallid. The official paint job has very, very pallid skin for both these guys. So I didn't use flesh tone at all. I mean, that was my goal. So let's try and remember what I did use. Basically, coated in Grey Seer, and then Agrat Surfshade and Neon Oil were used as my washes on top of everything else. This is some Volupus Pink with Black Templar for the weird fly arm, because this guy's becoming a fly. That is Black Templar on top of Mantis Warrior Green for those spikes. Mantis Warrior Green with Frostheart for the actual fly. That's more Volupus Pink, Black Templar, and ooh, which yellow is that? Probably Iron Jaws. More Volupus Pink with some of the Nurgling Slime on top for his ripped open guts. Just again reapplied the base coat to the maggots that are kind of like flowing out of him. He's very lovely, this guy. Great at chess. This is more Frostheart for his robes to hide his shame. This leg down here is a mixture of Rattling Grime with Neon Oil, I think it was. Was it? I think it was. I think so. Subject to change. If I remember using something different, I'll put it on the screen. On the back, it's much the same. Leadbelcher Silver for certain parts. He's probably the least machine-like of all the Gellerpox infected because he is more fly-like. He's got things inside him. Case in point, there's more maggots coming out of the fresh wound as the fly is kind of... I don't know if that's meant to be coming out of him because that's obviously where his other arm would be. But lovely. In a disgusting way. And the base is more of the AK Plague World technical paint with Agrat Surfshade over the top, and that is an army painter. I can't remember what the brand is, or the specific type of their grass tuft is called. They do a huge range, and that's just one of them, but you can find it based on what it looks like there. Very fun, this guy. Oh yeah, and I applied a little bit of Plaguebearer Flesh, I think it was, around the damaged skin as well. Very lovely fellow, this one. And then Volgrar Thrice Cursed, the man with an oven. I used Mantis Warrior Green for his pants, again just to try and match up the official paint job. I used a little bit of Briar Queen Chill because he has some blue stains in his skin on the official paint job where the metal implements have appeared, like up to here. It's like a Psycho from Cyberpunk. So I did a little bit of that, and then the washes I mentioned. Brass Scorpion for the smokestack things up here. Gryph-hound Orange, Magmadroth Flame, I have 2 oranges used here, with a little bit of Iyanden Yellow and... what's the other yellow? Not Ironjaw's yellow. Imperial Fist yellow, the very bright one. A lot of Leadbelcher Silver, some blood for the Blood God to make his implements look like they've been busy. And that's it. Also, I'm copying the official paint job here. The middle of his 3 faces looks like he's got 3D glasses. I love that little touch. Very cool miniature. He's the boss of the Gellerpox Infected, by the way. I don't know anything else to mention. Not really. Like, he's got a lot of metal pipes, like, holding his body together. There's a couple there. There's stitches, or might not be visible here, but you can see it in the picture I posted on Blue Sky. He's got, like, a vent there, and, like, staples here, holding them together. A lot of attention to detail, which is, again, I keep singing the praises of anything Nurgle, even Nurgle adjacent. It's so fun. They're just wonderful to see. And even if you're sloppy with your painting like I am, if it's for something from Nurgle, it's probably going to make it look okay when it's done, as long as you use washes on top of everything. So yeah, I love that, and that is all the important models for the Gellerpox Infected done. Fantastic little group of models. Had a great amount of joy painting them. I'll probably try and force myself just to paint up all these little miniatures I've got sitting here, even if I never take them, just so I can say it's definitely 100% complete done. But that brings us one step closer to getting Kill Team on the channel. So let's have a little conversation about the Devil, aka Mephisto, for Marvel Crisis Protocol. Once again, I've just been trying to match up the official paint job as best I am able to do so with my limited skills. And this is a prime example to use if you've ever wondered, what's the difference between all the main red contrast paints? Because that's what I've done here. The robe and his, like, the circlets he's wearing is Flesh Terror Red contrast paint. His skin tone is Blood Angels Red contrast paint. And his cape is Bowel Red, which is the newest of the red contrast paints. Now, across both his skin tone and the cape, I'll just show you the back of the cape here, I have both used a red wash, the newer red wash that Citadel have done, Khorne Berserker, or something Khorne themed it's called, and I've also done a dry brushing of a new red dry paint from Citadel, and I don't remember the name of the colour. I'm going to have to put that on screen, but there it is for you. And that was just to try and set the highlights a bit better, like I did that on his abs to make those show up a bit better. I applied a double coat of Talassar Red to try and make it specifically darker, and the same red I dry brushed through his hair, and that's basically it. Just bog standard Black Templar for his hair. And for his base, which I see a dog hair on, I'm going to have to... There, I apologise for having to do that, but it must be rid of. The flames are just the same yellows and oranges I was talking about for Volgrar rather over there, with a little bit on top of Basilicanum Grey, because he is just like emerging and offering a deal. And these spikes that are coming out of the ground are black in the official paint job, so again, I just tried to match it. He comes with some additional optional flames with no instructions on the assembly instructions on where they recommend to put them. I thought it looked fine without, so I just didn't use them. But if you wanted, he comes with 2 or 3 little flames you could have, like, potting around the base somewhere. But I thought he looked fine as is. So I have left Mephisto as is. He hasn't been on the table yet, but he will be whenever some Crisis Protocol is made room for in the schedule. I like the way he plays. Very, very thematic. Whether or not he's powerful or not doesn't really matter to me anyway. But that is the Devil for Crisis Protocol done. I did him before all the Halloween monsters, which are probably going to be next. One day I'm going to have to go back and finish those Asgardian releases, but I keep on reprioritizing because of the more unique models. Like models like this let you really experiment with colors, which I did enjoy. I wish I was better at the more fine details to pick out his eyes and mouth better, but hey, it turned out okay. And finally, just a short thing to end on. 2 more mechs painted up in my Mercenary Band colours. We have a Black Knight, which is one of my favourite mechs, and then I had to go double check what this one was called. It is an Exterminator. It is not one I could look at and be like, oh yeah, that's what that is. I like how it looks though, and it's pretty neat. I don't really have anything to say about how I painted them up because I've talked about how I paint up my Mercenary Band for Battletech so many times, but as a matter of note, look at him, isn't he cool? Big fan of the design of the Black Knight. Give him your money. So that is done. Again in the exact same styles. I've done all the other mechs for my Mercenary Band. And then the Exterminator, who I guess his most noble feature would be the slightly odd shape of his pauldrons, I guess. You shouldn't point out someone's pauldron shape, it's very rude. But still, I would say that's, and his kind of slightly stumpy demeanour. He's taller than your light mechs because he is a medium, right? I've got his card here because, as I say, I had cheated and looked up what his name was. He's a size 3, so they're the same size in terms of like tonnage or thereabouts. So he is a bit stumpy for his weight class. Actually, those armor, I don't know, shin guards. Why would a mech have shin guards? But that shin guard design is also pretty like unique looking for Battletech mechs. So I'd say going by them and the shoulders is how you would identify the Exterminator in the future. But yeah, he's neat looking. Not a mech chassis I was familiar with before getting this, but he's neat. I like him, and a nice assortment of weapons. I've realised that in my haste to get these in the video, I've forgotten to like do the colours that I like doing in the like short range, medium range, long range lasers. So I'll probably do that. So if you ever see these on the table, they might look slightly different, but that's just on the weapons and on the non-artillery weapons, like on his chest there. I just totally forgot and have been reminded myself now. So I'm probably going to do that immediately after I stop recording this, because otherwise I'll forget again and it'll bug me again in the future. So that is it for what I painted. On that note, as I said, that is it for another 2 weeks probably. If you want an early look at things I paint, I usually post pictures on my Blue Sky. In general, if you're a miniature painter, Blue Sky is a much nicer place to post than alternatives, because even if you are just an okay painter or even less than that, you will get your posts seen. Just you tag the game you've painted and people will see them. People who don't follow you, people who don't know you, it's nice that you're not suppressed by an algorithm and people will actually see the miniatures you're painting, whether you're a fantastic painter or if you just kind of scrape by like I do. So it's a great place. It's linked in the description box of my profile, rather. It's linked in the description box of every video, and as I say, that is a way to get sneak peeks of what I'll be talking about in these getting stuff painted videos. On that note, next time I'm hoping to get those ogres for the Blood Bowl team. See, this is me trying to hurry up and making more mistakes. So they should be done. Beyond that, possibly the monsters from Crisis Protocol, at least a start to them. I kind of want to tackle Dracula, or maybe one of the others from the box, and some more Warcry. I'm getting back into painting stuff for Warcry, so I fancy painting up some more Nurgle stuff. So I've got a couple from the leftover box of them I never finished. The big Blight Lords on the 40k name for them would be the Plague Drones, but they've got a different name for fancy. I've got a couple of those to do, and then that's that entire box from ages ago done. And I like finishing a box. I like getting to the point where a box is done and then you can put out the box into recycling and then you know it's complete and you've dealt your damage to your pile of grey shame. And then anything else beyond that will just have to be a surprise. Will there be any Modiphius resin? Probably not, but there might be. Who knows? 2 weeks, who knows what will happen. Anyway, thank you for watching. Feel free to show me what you've been painting on Blue Sky or Discord, and I'll see you in about 2 weeks for another update. Until then, ta for now.